Hello everyone and welcome to Aussie Tech Security episode 11. How are you? We're into April 4th, 2016. I hope you didn't get stung by any April Fool's jokes or whatever, because there was a few going around, but we'll have a talk to Roger in a second. Let's see if he knows of any that tickled his fancy on April Fools. But we are brought to you by Aussie Tech Web Hosting. That's athwebhosting.com.au for nice little shared hosting services based in Sydney. That's where the servers are. So jump on to athwebhosting.com.au and go for gold. All right, now hi Roger, welcome back.
Hey Glenn, how are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks. Been busy the last, since we last met?
Yeah, it has been rather busy. I did a presentation to the New South Wales Law Society, which went down really well. 250 people and scared them pretty shitless.
Good.
That was the main object of the exercise.
Goal
achieved.
Just
to raise awareness about what cybercrime and cybersecurity is all about. So.
Right. And how is your little webcasts going? The Lunch and Learn.
They're doing really well, actually. I'm getting more and more. I just hit 3,000 people watching them on YouTube, so
wow,
that's been pretty good.
That's awesome. Yeah, that is awesome.
Getting 5 to 10 a day at the moment, so that's really good.
Nice. When's the next one?
Tomorrow, actually. I'm doing one on what the hell's it called? It's something about 5 things to focus on when you're thinking about digital security.
Right. So that'll be the... hang on, just turn phones. Always ring, don't they, when you're doing something?
Now, when you least expect them.
Now, that is... when I say tomorrow, that is the April the 5th. And is there a certain day of the fortnight or week that you do these? Or how does
I try to do them every second Tuesday.
Right.
I do a lunch and learn every second Tuesday, and then the following week I do a full-blown 1-hour webcast on... every fortnight as well. So the idea is just to mix them up a bit more than anything else, because some subjects are very small, just like we do on the podcast.
Yep.
But some
intense
things need to go into a bit more depth and how to do it. I'm also I've just been talking to ADFA as well, and I'm now lecturing at ADFA, so that'll be interesting going forward as well. So
okay, and what does that stand for the uneducated?
ADFA, Australian Defence Force Academy.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, which is
nice.
Part of UNS, the other New South Wales. So
yeah, nice work. All right, okay, and if people miss the webcast, where can they find the replays?
They're always on YouTube. If you go to YouTube / Roger 3 Fs and a Q. And that'll put you into the channel, and just sign up. And if you sign up, though, every time we put one up or every time we do one, you'll get notified that it's happening.
So that's 3 Fs and a Q, not a 3 Fs and a U.
No, that's right.
Okay, all right. Now, today, this episode, we're going to talk about social media. And look, it's probably something where you don't think that, you'd be pretty safe, wouldn't you? Facebook, they're pretty big, they're massive. The Google Plus, massive. They're going to have, they'd be doing their security sweeps. They're not going to be plagued with issues and problems.
They are plagued with issues all the time. Yes, you're right. They do constantly sweep their systems to find out if people have compromised them. But there are other things that happen in Facebook, and things like... click jacking and link jacking and all these sort of things also come into it as well, because it's not so much Facebook itself; it's actually the browser that we're using and how much that has been, I suppose, hardened to a level where things are not going to use the browser to actually attack you.
So just touching on browsers, what, in your opinion, is the safest browser for Windows?
At the moment, I use Firefox because it's a lot easier to use, but it's not as secure as Google's Chrome.
Right.
But then again, I haven't used Safari for a while, so I don't know how good Safari is. But they're really fair enough. The new Edge that came out with Windows 10 is a lot more secure than Internet Explorer ever was, but it still has its problems and issues and foibles and everything else that go with all of the browsers that are around.
Yeah, like Edge is another story, but like I can't see why they wouldn't bring out a browser. You can't get half the sites that you want to get. They don't render properly, and it's just crazy.
Yeah,
but
right.
that's how it goes. But getting back to Facebook and the other social media platforms, so you mentioned click jacking and click something else.
Link jacking and click jacking. Now, click jacking is where, let's put it this way. You know the ads that appear on the right hand side of your Facebook feed.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Now they are populated by a totally different system that is outside Facebook, and what happens is they use all of the information that we generate when we're going to websites, or we're using Facebook, or we like something or share something and that type of thing. So that information is collected by this organization, and it is a huge organization. I can't remember the name of it, but it is one of the big internet-based businesses in the world. Now, they collect all your information, and so if I'm searching for Shadowrun, for instance, Shadowrun components will actually start appearing in my Facebook feed, will start appearing in my Google Plus feed.
Yeah.
And these are being generated by this company or this business based on what I have been doing. But the criminals know this as well. And they actually then interject their systems into making it appear as if those legitimate adverts are coming from the same place.
Yes, right.
So you'll get a situation where if I go back to Shadowrun, for instance, if I click on an advert for Shadowrun, it's not going to be always in the right place or the right name, and it's going to go to a different website. And that's how they catch people who are using Facebook. But Facebook is also a really huge goldmine for the engineering, the social engineering component of what digital criminals do, because we put so much information up there and we help them to a level where we tell people where we're going, we tell people who our friends are, we tell people where we're working, what jobs we're working at. All of this information then becomes something that the cyber criminals can then utilize to get, for instance, to create an email that will have a spear phishing attack in it.
Yeah,
so
right.
all of this type of components makes it very lucrative for the bad guys to be able to infiltrate your Facebook feed.
Because I know another one that was just recently in the news was Dropbox. Now, although that's not probably really social media, but there was ransomware attacks coming through in the guise of people applying for jobs. Say, oh, this is a resume, here's the link. And it would link to a Dropbox file, which perfectly understandable. You wouldn't think twice, really, would you? Oh, hey, someone's resume.
Yeah, well, this is the thing that people do not understand is the digital criminal is always thinking of ways to use our humanness against us. And I think that is probably the best way of looking at it, because they rely on us to trust someone who sent us something. And the trust in the digital world is totally different from the way we trust someone outside. You know, if I meet someone, I meet someone, I'll talk to someone on Skype, or I talk to someone at a networking function, for instance, I get a gauge of who they are and what they are by the way they talk, how they talk, their idiosyncrasies.
Yeah.
In the digital world, you don't get that feedback. So anybody who says that I am Joe Bloggs is going to come across as they are Joe Bloggs. Whereas you can usually work out that someone is lying or fibbing about something when you're talking in the real world. And it's so easy. And if you think about it, just going back to Facebook and the profile pages, you can upload any photo of yourself or something else. So you still have this problem of who are the people you're talking to and who are people you really know.
Yeah. So I know like of late, I've just been getting, probably I would say just about daily, you get friend requests from people you just don't know. And you think, are these people coming to me because they've heard me on the podcast or something? But then most of the time you go into their profile, it's just been created. There's no information. And
That's right.
so you just go delete, and they're starting to come from, like, oh, the person is from Australia, like Sydney or Melbourne or whatever. Like before it was Ukraine, Romania, US, and you go, oh, that's just spam. But now it's getting more localized. So why do you think that I'm getting those friend requests? Is that just a bot that's going around shooting out just friend requests?
Yeah, that is. Have you ever heard of a system called Carly? I think we've discussed
Yes.
it before.
Yeah.
Well, Carly has a system in the back end of it that can actually target Facebook through friend requests. And it is set up to literally have a profile. It quite happily sends out friend requests to 14,000 or million people, and anybody who clicks on it then becomes a friend. The trouble is with the friendship in things like Facebook and LinkedIn is once people are your friend, they have access to things that you wouldn't have access to if you were just a general person.
Yeah.
And this is the difference between the two. I can look on a profile on LinkedIn, for instance, and I can see someone has got what their public profile is going to say, but I don't know what the back end of them is really all about.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're a friend, you can see a lot more. You can see their contact details and all this. And this is what they're really after, because once they get in, they can get into your system, but they can also get into your friend's system because of the way that Facebook is set up. So, and again, it's a sort of a step process that they've put in place to be able to do this.
So initially, are they just looking to get into anyone's, just to see what information, just phishing, or are they sort of really trying to target a certain person?
I don't know about targeting a certain person, but they will go out of their way to people who have got higher profiles. Like I did an experiment with my Facebook about 3 months ago. I used to use it just for getting information out there. So I started a full-blown let's build up the numbers and all that sort of stuff. When I started doing that, my profile went up, but also the number of people who are requesting to become my friend also went up. And that's when I started looking at some of the things that were happening as well.
Yes.
Because I have a large number of Navy people in my Facebook, I suppose, friends
list or whatever.
Yeah, friends list. But they are people that I've either worked with over the last 25 years, or the 25 years I was in the Navy, or people I've actually lost communication with. And it was, if a number of my friends knew the friend that I was targeting, then I would go out and say, well, he must be 90% legitimate. But if I came across a name that I thought was ex-Navy, that was someone who else, but there was nobody else who was attached to it, then I didn't go near it.
Yes, because I had an instance once, excuse me, where a friend, like an actual friend of mine, friend requested me, profile, everything. And I went, oh, okay, obviously he's made up another profile for some reason. And so I went, yeah, rightio, accepted. And then started getting weird messages from him. Yeah. And I'm going, what's this guy? Is he on the Terps or something? And I think I might have said that to him. I wrote back, are you on the Terps or what's going on? And then it sort of just dawned on me. I thought, oh, this is not right. Someone's hacked into his account or something's happened or correct, So I contacted him and he goes, yeah, something's gone wrong. He says, everyone, I'm apparently friending everyone, refriending everyone. He said, it's not right, just delete it.
Yeah.
And so I don't know what people would be after there. They're actually interacting with me real time. So
again, this is where the digital criminal really comes into his own, because he is using social engineering to get you to, I suppose, qualify some of the things that you're interested in. Fair enough. Some of them, the experience you had is a bit different from some of the experiences I've had, where I've had people actually who I've come up, and I know they're a friend on my friends list. They've come up with exactly the same profile, but it's not driven by them.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's when literally I'll go back and have a look at my friends list and go, I'm already a friend with him, and I will actually tell them that
something's going on.
There's something going on. You need to look at it.
Yeah. And what would that person need to do though? Like they can't do anything. They have to just put a note out on their proper page.
Yeah. Well, it's usually it's something that you have to think about how you're going to handle the job, the problem, because there are a number of solutions that you can utilize to get to protecting yourself a bit better as well.
Right. So Facebook and the like, what do you think that they're doing to help stop this sort of stuff?
They're doing a lot actually, and when you have that problem with a replicated profile, you can actually go back to Facebook and say someone's copied my profile. Can you remove the copy?
Right.
And yeah, it sometimes takes a couple of weeks, but they will get round to doing it.
Right. Yeah, because I know sometimes people they get on the Facebook with a false name or a derivative of their real name or something. And what happens? Someone must take someone to complain about it or something, and then before you can get back in online or back on Facebook, say, you need to provide like documentation, like your driver's license or whatever. But I suppose that could be doctored as well.
Of course it can.
So, yes. And you're only emailing or faxing or scanning or whatever to them. It doesn't take much to blank out the number, type your own number in on a document, or replace the picture. But So Facebook's they're scanning for this link jacking and all this sort of stuff.
They put a fair amount of resources into making sure that the environment they've created is as secure as possible. But it also comes down to our interpretation of what we do with Facebook itself, because the privacy policy or the privacy components that you put in place is also very important. If for instance if you're using for instance I've got a Facebook page that I'm quite happy to everybody to have a look at and do everything, and the only thing they can't do is post to it, but they can share it and do everything else. Whereas my private Facebook profile, only people who are friends of mine can actually see what I'm saying and what I'm doing, unless it's in a group, and then it's into a group's itself environment. And also groups are very something that I think a lot of people are now taking a lot more seriously. Like, as I said, I'm in a group of Vittling people who used to, going back to my Navy days, and the person who looks after that group itself, and it's a closed group, we know exactly how many people were in that group or in the Navy over the period of time that the Vittling rating was around. And what happens is someone will come up and apply to join, and literally Facebook prompt will go around to anybody know Joe Blogs. Right. And if anybody else comes back and go, never heard of him, yes, he used to work on this ship and he was here when I was there and all that sort of stuff, then you get this qualification from other people who are in the group. But that's one of the only ways I can see that keeping a group is really secure. It's the same as if you've got a Facebook group for a business or an organisation. If you've got 60 people in that organisation and someone then tries to get into it, then you have a responsibility to the rest of the people that you are making sure that people aren't getting into that group.
I know, like probably not as social media as Facebook, but I know a little, you put a little bugbear of mine, I suppose, when you get a mass email and everyone's email address is in the CC. That's a bit crazy. What are your opinion on these things like Swarm or /Foursquare social media apps?
To tell you the truth, I don't use a lot of the social media. I only have 5 that I'm really focused on. Twitter, because I can literally talk to people and get people involved and get my information out there. I use Facebook mainly for a personal level, plus the Facebook page that I've created for digital security. LinkedIn is more about business anyway, and I've got 4,500 people connected to that account. But again, I don't put anything personal on that. So most of it is all business related. I've written a book, I've done this, I've done that, I've done this. If you want information, contact me. And then there's YouTube, which is literally a broadcast medium anyway. It's like having Facebook, having an email that goes out to everybody anyway. I don't use Instagram, I don't use Foursquare, I don't use Reddit, mainly because it doesn't suit my environment, and I'm not that much of a social fairy when it comes to that type of thing. But if I had an organisation that had products that I could Instagram, then yes, I would totally agree with it. Instagram is something you need to look at, and again, Instagram is more of a broadcast medium. same as SlideShare is, again, a broadcast medium. You can put things on there. If people like it, they will share it. If they don't like it, they'll leave it alone.
Yeah.
And that's really what you're after when it comes to social media. But when it comes to your own components, like where you live, who your real friends are, who your family members are, then it's something that you really have to keep close.
Can you, like, this is probably, I'm not sure if you can answer this question, but can you block out the public seeing your friends on Facebook?
Yes, you can.
Right.
Yes.
So you just got to go through the security settings.
Yeah.
Okay.
On Facebook, you can nail it down. So the only thing that on your profile that you can see is your name and your photo.
Right.
Okay. So if you want to go to that level, Facebook gets really upset about it because, according to them, you're stopping people contact with you.
Yeah.
But then you can turn around and tell Facebook to get stuffed anyway. So.
That's right. But just touching back on the Swarm/Foursquare business, I think that would be more of more of an immediate personal security risk. It's something that I've used and I've liked, but when you start thinking about it, like, people contact you because they or friend you in that medium because you're local, you go to these same places and everything. But then if you start using it every time you go somewhere, then people know where you are. People know,
right.
or more importantly, people know where you're not.
Yes, so, like you're not at home and nobody else is at home.
That's right. That's right. So I did get into a bit of a habit when I was doing the Foursquare thing of only posting where I'd been.
Yes.
Or when I was leaving that place to come home.
Yep.
And so I'd be ready.
Facebook back.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's more of a, even when you go to the clubs, the RSL or whatever, you got to sign your name. Now, I knew a guy that was, say, from the wrong side of the tracks, and he would go to these places and he would look at the addresses. Yeah. He'd say, well, people are here at the club. Well, I'm going to go around and knock on the door.
Yep,
and
quite happily go to, yeah. But this is, again, you're talking about the criminal mind. And the criminal mind is a damn sight more, what's the word? Willing to bend the rules than anybody else. Yeah. And that's where people really forget about. We think everything in the digital world is like the real world. If you go into a dark alley, yes, you might get beaten up. But if you stay in the light, everybody's happy and smiling and everything else. We don't have that sort of differentiation in the digital world. It's all a grey area.
Yes.
And again, once again, if you're posting information about where you've been or where you're going or who you're doing it with and everything else, then there's a good chance that someone who you don't want that information to be known to finds out about it.
And I guess another big problem would be now that you've got my mind trained on this Facebook business, like another big problem would be things like, test your brain computing power apps, from Facebook. Yes. And but this app will get your email address and whatever, blah, blah, blah. Yep. So then I suppose just for a little bit of fun, you're giving away some of your personal information to who knows who. Yep. And that's probably an extension of...
Again, when things like surveys that appear in your feed as well, because if they're asking personal questions about personal information, then it depends on your level of protection is how you want to proceed with it. If someone turns up and says, we've got a survey for you, it's 9 questions, and they start going, what's your name and your address and your phone number and all this sort of stuff, the first thing I do is go, thank you very much, bye-bye.
Yes.
Because to me, it doesn't matter who you are or what you are. The moment you go past a certain level, and that level is usually where I'm living or where I'm working and that type of thing.
Yeah,
something
that's enough.
that isn't readily available on the internet. Like, fair enough, my profile ad on the internet is pretty huge, but I haven't got personal information out there.
Yes.
My public persona is based on what I do, not who I am.
Yes, that's right, and I think that's good. But look, before we go, because we haven't got too much longer. What's the recent developments with the good old Apple FBI? Now,
yes.
Now the FBI have cracked the Apple iPhone, which now the world knows the iPhone is not secure, and I think there's a Bit of a turn up for old Tim Cook there. I think he's probably just kicking himself. He probably didn't address this privately and quietly.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on that? And also, on how do you think it was cracked? Was it social engineered, or do you think it was actually like coded, cracked, or whatever? And now Apple is not suing, but is trying to take to court the FBI now to try and force the FBI to tell Apple how they did it, which is a turn up for the books. It's crazy.
Well, one of the things that FBI have got to remember is anybody who uses an Apple product, even though you don't read it, that 65 pages of T's and C's, terms and conditions, means that if you find out how to break their software, then they have full right to find out how you did it. And that's something that is going to come out in court very shortly. But you ever heard of a company called the Hacking Team?
No.
Okay, the Hacking Team was a company that actually went out of its way. It was a white hat hacking group that used black hat hacking tactics to get into organizations, government departments, all of this sort of stuff, using the bug system. And the bug system is where I can take a piece of software, find out where there's a problem with it, and then send it back to the people who made it, saying this is a problem. You need to fix it. Well, the hacking team didn't send it back to the people who they were working with.
Right.
They would find, let's say they would find 6 exploits in a piece of software. They would send 5 back to the company, and they would keep the probably the most prolific or the hardest one to counteract as a product for themselves.
Yeah, right.
Now they would then sell it on to everybody else. Now they were, as I said, they were a legitimate company, but they got hacked, and a large number of their compromising systems got released onto the dark web.
Oh God, dark web.
Which then had Adobe and Java and Flash running around in ever-decreasing circles, fixing the problems that they didn't know they actually had. Now, when it comes to Apple and the FBI, I reckon one of these is what happened. But because they couldn't get into the phone through the keypad, they would have had to have gone in through the Lightning connector itself.
Right.
So in other words, they would have had to connect to a computer, and that is how they compromised it.
Yes.
Because otherwise they wouldn't have been able to get in. They couldn't have got in by sending it anything because it's not a live system, because they can't get into it to activate it to install anything. So the only way they could do it is to plug it into a computer, make that a trusted source, and then go from there.
It from there. Yeah, right. It's a bit crazy. Like my thoughts, I think everyone knows by now, is that I reckon that it should have just all happened quietly in Tim Cook's office or wherever. Now it's out in the open. You've got the world going, well, hang on, let's try and crack this iPhone because it is crackable. Yeah.
Well, the other thing is, Google and FBI had a problem about 18 months ago, and this also came out recently. And they did it on the quiet. That they helped the FBI get into an Android system.
Right.
Again, whether it was done legitimately or a bad piece of code or whatever, they got into it somehow. Again, it's how I think it's how Apple and Google want to be perceived in the world. I think Apple want to be seen as the white knight of everybody. We're going to protect your data no matter what. And to do that, we now need access to how the FBI got into the system. Because once they find out that they got into the system through X, there'll be a patch will come out to fix it and make sure that it doesn't happen again.
But there should also be, then the FBI should be able to say, well, listen, we need to know that you're on our side here. Next time something like this happens, let's just do it. Yeah. But all right, well, so that's the latest on FBI Apple. So it's
the continuing next chapter.
Yeah, that's right. So we'll wait and see if the FBI cough up the secret. It'd be very interesting. I wonder if that would be made public. Well, I suppose
don't think so.
Well, it must be in some sort of way if the patch comes out from Apple, because then everyone would know the patch. But just quickly, I just had a thought. I ran into a guy the other day that he said he reverse engineers software. Now that'd be quite hard to do, wouldn't it?
When software is produced down to the application level, it usually has an encrypted component that takes it back to the machine level. So, in other words, if you're creating an application that runs through, let's say, C, for instance, there is a programming system behind it that makes it change it into an application so the computer can read it.
Yeah.
So reverse engineering something, you've got to take it from the application and back into the C++ system.
Yes.
Now, to do that, you either need a password or an encryption key to do that, because when you compile something in C++, it'll actually ask you for a key to lock it in so that nobody else can reverse engineering.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, it's possible, and again, it comes down to how it's been protected.
Yeah, right. Oh, there's a lot of real smart cookies out there that do all this sort of stuff, isn't there?
Oh, yes. It's just horrible people.
Crazy. Wish I had half of their intellect. All right. Yeah. So you can go and catch Roger on his website at rniconsulting.com.au or on the Twitter at SME Security. You can go to our webpage, aussietechheads.com.au, or follow us on Twitter at AussieTechheads or facebook.com/AussieTechheads. Don't forget Roger's Lunch and Learn webinars. I'm going to call seminars. Semi-webinars?
Webinars. Webinar thingies.
Yes, that's every second Tuesday. So I'll just go to his website and figure that out whenever they are. Yep. Catch the replay. All right, thanks, Roger. Thanks for coming in, and we'll see you again soon.
Thanks, Glenn. Much appreciated.
All right, and we'll hopefully be heard by you guys again soon also. So until then, it's goodbye.